At 2 in the morning, the danger inside a residential building is not always what people expect. Sometimes it begins with something as ordinary as charging a battery. Within a matter of seconds, a lithium-ion battery experiencing thermal runaway can unleash suffocating black smoke and lethal temperatures, leaving residents absolutely no time to escape. This is not a scene from a movie, but a recurring reality across urban China driven by electric two-wheelers. Data from the National Fire and Rescue Administration reveals that during the peak period of 2023, the country recorded over 21,000 e-bike fires. Following a massive nationwide cleanup campaign in 2024, these incidents dropped significantly. Fires decreased by 46% year-on-year between May and December of 2024, while the fire rate per million vehicles fell from 5.6 down to roughly 2 cases in the first quarter of 2025. To mitigate these rolling fire risks that have spread to every corner of the city, municipal governments began regulating parking, charging, and indoor access. Many residential compounds installed centralized charging lockers at their gates, while some high-rise elevators added AI cameras to detect e-bikes, sound an alarm, and stop the elevator from moving. Yet, as official regulation tightened across the city, a highly profitable reverse supply chain quietly relocated to the deep forests and remote mountains on the urban periphery. According to the National Fire and Rescue Administration, approximately 33% of all e-bike fires are caused by illegally modified batteries. Remarkably, up to 80% of the internal cells used in these modified packs come directly from decommissioned batteries discarded by electric vehicles. Deep in the isolated mountain ravines far from urban centres, hidden underground dismantling workshops are quietly at work. Labourers using primitive hand tools dismantle and reassemble these retired vehicle batteries, which flow right back into the market as oversized lithium cells that are constantly in high demand. These products often exceed national voltage standards and are modified to fit different vehicle brands. Following the regulatory crackdown, an underground workshop owner even told reporters that market demand had actually surged, with production of their non-compliant batteries increasing by 2 to 3 times compared to before. This demonstrates that aggressive enforcement did not eliminate demand. It simply forced the supply chain to adapt, making it more hidden and significantly more dangerous. This is no longer just a story about breaking the law. It is a complex economic phenomenon driven by the convergence of green energy retirement cycles, delivery platform algorithms, and raw survival pressures at the bottom of society. To understand how Chinese cities maintain their remarkable level of daily efficiency, electric two-wheelers may be one of the most overlooked pieces of urban infrastructure. Western media coverage heavily focuses on giants like BYD and CATL, discussing how they are disrupting the global automotive market. However, what truly keeps cities moving in China is not the high-speed rail network or the subways, but the hundreds of millions of electric two-wheelers weaving through the streets. Today, the total number of electric two-wheelers in China has surpassed 450 million. That means roughly 1 out of every 3 Chinese citizens owns one. It is cheap, flexible, and often saves more total travel time than the subway in congested cities. It allows parents to pick up their children on time, helps commuters bypass traffic jams, and provides a low-cost transit solution on the city outskirts where public transportation cannot reach. The group that relies on this infrastructure the most is China's massive workforce of over 13 million food delivery couriers. In China, a delivery fee of about $1 ensures a hot meal arrives at your door within 30 minutes. This extreme convenience relies entirely on the precise dispatch algorithms and route calculations of delivery platforms, powered by millions of young couriers speeding through the streets on their e-bikes. For these workers, the electric two-wheeler is not just a mode of transportation, it is an essential tool for making a living. The conflict inevitably arises at the intersection where extreme efficiency meets physical safety. In response to frequent fires, China introduced a new national standard for electric two-wheelers in 2024, capping battery voltage at 48 volts and top speed at 25 kilometers per hour, while requiring batteries and chargers to authenticate each other electronically. From a public safety perspective, the intent behind these regulations is simple to understand as they attempt to block all possibilities of illegal modification at the source. Yet the reality is harsh. For high-intensity couriers, a completely compliant vehicle may not sustain the delivery efficiency and income they expect. Delivery timelines on food platforms are calculated by algorithms, and courier income is tied directly to order volume and completion speed, meaning the faster you ride and the more orders you take, the higher your earnings. Especially during the lunch and dinner rushes, every minute becomes highly valuable. For riders, speed is not just a habit, it is a deliberate income strategy. Real-world conditions like traffic jams, heavy rain, or sudden road closures never align perfectly with the algorithm. Once time is lost on the road, riders must speed up to claw it back. Otherwise, they face late penalties, poorer ratings, and potentially fewer future dispatches. This is where another constraint becomes critical: energy. When income is deeply tied to operational efficiency, longer battery range and faster charging stop being performance preferences and become economic necessities. Consequently, some riders turn to high-capacity battery swapping services, where non-compliant batteries often slip into the market, allowing them to spend $30 or $40 a month to rent large batteries over 60 volts directly from roadside smart kiosks. There is no need to wait for charging, since the vehicle is fully powered up in a matter of seconds, pushing its range straight to 100 kilometers. Even though platforms have fine-tuned their algorithms, added buffer times, or reduced late penalties due to public pressure in recent years, the hunger for non-compliant energy sources will never stop as long as the core instant delivery model continues to reward raw efficiency. When the legitimate market supply is locked down by regulation while systemic demand is amplified by algorithms, a massive and highly profitable grey market naturally behaves like water, seeping into every available crack. The reason this grey supply chain enjoys a steady flow of cheap materials is connected to an even larger industrial cycle: the massive wave of decommissioned electric vehicle batteries. The industry is currently seeing its first major wave of automotive battery retirements. Projections indicate that decommissioned batteries across China will reach tens of gigawatt hours in 2026 and could exceed 170 gigawatt hours by 2030. Although these degraded batteries no longer meet the requirements of electric cars, their remaining capacity is still valuable, providing an abundance of excess power when repurposed for two-wheelers. If processed through official recycling channels, the overhead of strict environmental regulations and safe dismantling slashes profit margins down to a bare minimum. However, underground workshops hidden in the mountains completely ignore environmental and safety benchmarks, turning retired automotive batteries into an extremely low-cost raw material. They take the still functional cells and reassemble them into non-compliant packs with larger capacities and higher voltages, pricing and selling them right back to the public. Waste that lost its economic viability in the automotive ecosystem finds a new purpose when entering a market with an entirely different cost structure. This arbitrage opportunity aligns perfectly with the constant demand for speed within the city. Looking at this situation, an intuitive reaction is that deploying stronger administrative enforcement to completely shut down these hidden workshops would solve the problem. Yet the reality is quite different, as data released by fire departments reveals a puzzling truth. Illegal modifications account for only 33% of fires, while the remaining 67% occurred in fully compliant, unmodified factory models. Complete regulatory compliance does not mean zero risk, since battery aging, charging habits, manufacturing variances, and harsh operating environments can all lead to accidents. Furthermore, many residential properties outsource outdoor charging stations to third-party commercial operators, which often makes the electricity rates and service fees for outdoor charging significantly higher than standard residential power rates. For a low-income worker, carefully budgeting every dollar each month, carrying a heavy lithium battery back into their apartment like a piece of luggage to charge overnight can appear economically rational. From an individual micro perspective, everyone is making the correct decision tailored to their own self-interest. But when countless individuals make this same choice simultaneously, macro-level disaster risks begin accumulating rapidly inside high-rise buildings. Convenience is never free. It simply shifts its costs onto parts of the system that are harder to see. When we sit on a couch and tap a screen to have hot coffee and meals arrive at our doorstep within 30 minutes, it is easy to take this level of speed for granted. Any system operating at this level of convenience requires someone to bear the underlying cost, and looking at other countries reveals a completely different cost structure. Ordering delivery in New York, London, or Paris involves delivery fees, service charges, and labor costs that are significantly higher than those in China. Several Western jurisdictions have introduced legislation in recent years to raise minimum incomes and strengthen labor protections for gig workers. These expenses are ultimately reflected directly in consumer pricing and slower delivery times. Meanwhile, in China's massive instant delivery market, low prices and rapid delivery have become normalized as a basic expectation. Platforms rely on algorithms to optimize supply and demand, couriers maximize their efficiency to boost their income, and consumers continue to enjoy cheaper, faster service. This system itself is not inherently right or wrong. When speed remains the primary competitive edge, and the market lacks the room to absorb the true costs of time, safety, and energy, the system organically seeks its own alternative balance. Ultimately, the black market risks pushed out of urban centres by regulations travel right back down this chain of efficiency, eventually making their way back into daily life. What we are witnessing is not just an isolated battery incident, an illegal modification, or a rogue underground workshop, but a systemic outcome jointly shaped by consumer habits, platform rules, labor pressures, energy supplies, and state regulation. The most difficult question is rarely about deciding who should be held responsible. Instead, it asks whether we are truly willing to accept the compromise, if mitigating this risk means slower deliveries, higher costs, and reduced convenience. Perhaps what we truly want is something cheap, fast, and absolutely safe all at once. In the physical world, however, those three conditions rarely coexist perfectly. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next episode.